I was always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, always trying to get to a point where life would be easier. Residency will end, then it will get better. Fellowship will end, and then it will get better. The first few years as an attending will pass, and then it will get better. But the light never came. It never got better. And one day I realized, this is it. This is as good as it gets. And that realization broke me. Hello, I'm Dr. Felix Boecker, and today we're talking about the mid-career crisis in medicine, when the dream job loses its luster, and what you can do about it. Welcome to In Search of 42. Here's what happens to a lot of physicians around mid-career. You've made it through the gauntlet, right? Medical school survived, residency survived, maybe even fellowship survived. You're an attending now. You've been practicing for 5, 10, 15 years. You're competent, you're experienced, you're established, and you're miserable. This isn't what you signed up for. This isn't what you thought it would be. The dream job has lost its luster. And you're stuck. The golden handcuffs, student loans still to pay, a mortgage, kids in college, retirement to save for. You just can't quit. But you can't keep doing this either. That's the mid-career crisis moment, and it's incredibly common, more common than anyone wants to admit. So today, we're going to talk about it. From my own experience, from the physicians I have coached, and I'm going to give you options, real options, not platitudes, not just practice self-care. No, real strategies for navigating the mid-career crisis, because you are not stuck, even when it feels like you are. You have options. Let me show you what they are. So, let me tell you about my experience. I wouldn't say I was really mid-career when I switched to wound care. I had only had about 4 years of trauma experience at that time, but the realization hit me hard. I had given so much to medicine, to trauma surgery specifically. I gave my time, my energy, my emotional bandwidth, my relationships, my health. I gave everything, and I got nothing in return. Medicine took it all from me. My time for myself, my time for my family. But what did I get? More patients, more trauma, more administrative burden, more exhaustion. I was always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, trying to get to a point where life would be easier, when I would have more time, when I would have more autonomy, when I would feel fulfilled. But that point never came. Yes, more recognition would have been nice, more fulfillment would have been nice, more time on autonomy would have been nice, more meaning would definitely have been nice. Because what's the meaning in trauma surgery when people keep doing stupid shit and getting hurt or killed without an end to it? But I realized I never could have gotten what I wanted out of it, because my core values are autonomy, freedom, and family. And trauma surgery doesn't align with those core values at all. Trauma surgery is the opposite of autonomy. You're at the mercy of when patients arrive. You have no control. Trauma surgery is the opposite of freedom. You're always on call, always tethered to the hospital. Trauma surgery is the opposite of family time. You're always working, always exhausted, always unavailable. So no matter how good I got at trauma surgery, no matter how much I achieved, I was never going to be satisfied, because it fundamentally didn't align with who I am and what I value. And that's when the crisis hit. My transition to wound care was purely circumstantial, but very serendipitous. I moved to Toledo after my divorce, and no one was hiring trauma surgeons, so I ended up in wound care, not by choice, but by necessity. And it felt weird at first because all I had known until then was general surgery and trauma. Wound care was completely different. But once I was in the trenches, once I realized what it offered, everything changed. No nights, no weekends, no call, more time for my family. It took a few months, but once I realized I had my life back, it just felt right. This was what I had been looking for, the light at the end of the tunnel. Not in trauma surgery, but in wound care, a specialty I would never have chosen on my own, a specialty I fell into by accident, and it gave me back what trauma surgery had taken: time, autonomy, freedom, the ability to have a life outside of medicine. That was the pivot that saved me. When I coach mid-career physicians, here's the most common complaints: administrative burden, documentation requirements, endless committees, electronic health record documentation that takes longer than patient care, prior authorizations, quality metrics, patient satisfaction scores, insurance battles, all of this on top of a full patient load, a heavy patient load. And who suffers? The patient. Because there's no time to actually spend with them. You are racing through visits. You're spending more time on the computer than with the person in front of you. You're doing medicine by checklist instead of by connection. And that's soul crushing. Because you went into medicine to help people, to connect with patients, to make a difference. And instead, you're drowning in administrative bullshit. That's the mid-career crisis for a lot of physicians. Not the medicine itself, but the system around the medicine. So why don't people just leave? Well, it's the principle of the golden handcuffs. You have student loans still to pay. You have a mortgage. You have kids to put through college. You have a lifestyle that you have built. You have retirement to save for. And you're making good money. And leaving would mean a pay cut, or starting over, or losing everything you have built. So you stay. Miserable, but financially secure. That's the trap. Here's what I tell people though. Build something outside of medicine. Build a side hustle. Maybe something that involves your medical degree. Maybe something else entirely. But build something. While medicine is still paying the bills, work on it in your off hours, nights, weekends, whenever you have time. Build it up gradually until it can replace your medical income, or at least supplement it enough that you can reduce your clinical hours. That's the 5 to 9 strategy. Work your 9 to 5 job in medicine and work your 5 to 9 side hustle building your escape. Now, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes sacrifice, but it is possible. You can also consider other employment opportunities within medicine. Locums work, working for insurance companies, getting involved with industry, consulting, expert witness work, medical writing. There are options that use your medical degree, but get you out of direct clinical care. The key is working on something that will eventually break the shackles, something that will give you options, something that will free you from the golden handcuffs. Here's what I want you to know. The further along you get in your career, the more stuck you feel, and that's normal. But it's possible to break free at any age with the right attitude, the right motivation, the right support network. Let me give you some examples of successful people who started late. Colonel Sanders founded KFC at age 62. Vera Wang didn't start her fashion company until she was 40. Sam Walton founded Walmart at 44. Ray Kroc started McDonald's at 52. These people completely changed their careers in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s and became massively successful. So you can do the same. Your medical career doesn't have to be your only career. Your 20s, 30s, and 40s aren't wasted because you were in medicine. Their experience, their skills, their knowledge, and you can leverage that into something new at any age. Let me tell you about some successful pivots that I have seen. Right? There's my own, from trauma surgery to wound care. That was a game changer for me. It gave me my life back. There's the radiologist who went into cosmetics. This was someone who was burned out on radiology, right? Sitting in a dark room, looking at screens all day, no patient interaction. He retrained in cosmetic procedures and started a private practice. Money and lifestyle were the drivers, and he is so much happier now. Direct patient interaction, aesthetic procedures, building something of his own. There's the family medicine doc who went into weight loss. She tried wound care, but it just didn't like it. And then she started her own weight loss clinic specifically for women over 50. She's doing really well. She found her niche. She's helping people in a way that aligns with her values, and she has autonomy and freedom. These are all real pivots by real physicians who were mid-career, who were struggling, and who found a better path. Here's something important. Everything is realistic when it comes to career change. Staying in medicine and doing a vastly different specialty might require at least some residency retraining to be eligible for board exams. But there are other specialties and boards that are open to any specialty. Functional or integrative medicine, laser medicine, obesity and weight loss medicine, wound care. These don't require a full residency retraining. A few months of courses, often done online on the side, is all that is needed to retrain into one of these specialties. I don't know that these are escape routes necessarily. Instead, they are ways for physicians to retrain and rethink their approach to medicine. They are much more holistic and patient-focused specialties. The science can be unclear in many of them, which is why they aren't fully recognized specialties with official fellowship training, but maybe that's political. I don't know. The content, from what I can tell, isn't particularly wrong. This is basic medicine in other countries. So, if you're mid-career and burned out on your current specialty, you have options. You can pivot without going back to residency. You can learn something new in months, not years. You can start a new practice with relatively low barriers to entry, and that's powerful. Let me lay out the actual options for mid-career physicians in crisis. Option 1, change your specialty. This is realistic. It might require some retraining, but it's possible, and there are pathways that don't require full residency retraining. I just discussed some of those. Option 2, change your practice setting, whether that's hospital to private practice, academic to community settings, employed to independent, inpatient to outpatient, clinical to non-clinical, maybe doing locums work. Any of these changes can work for the right person. It just depends on what you want and are comfortable with. Option 3, reduce hours or go part-time. Now, is this financially feasible? Well, it depends. Reducing hours often means losing benefits, 401ks, health insurance, sometimes malpractice insurance coverage. So, is it possible? Yes, absolutely. But it depends on your individual circumstances whether this option can even be entertained. Option 4, build a side income. Lots of people are making money with the help of the internet. Lots of physicians have turned to social media, either in their specialty or something else entirely. There's podcasts, blogging, YouTube, getting involved with industry, sitting on boards, focusing more on research or education. Some physicians get additional degrees, MBAs and JDs mainly, to expand into other areas. There's medical consulting, expert witness work, pharma consulting, device company advising. There are options. Option 5, leave medicine entirely. Now, this is the nuclear option, but it is an option. And for some people, it's the right one. You can leverage your medical knowledge in non-clinical ways. Or you can leave healthcare entirely and do something completely different. It's your life. You get to decide. The point is, you have options. More options than you think. You are not stuck, even when it feels like you are. When someone comes to me in mid-career crisis, here's my process, and it goes back to the basics. Question 1. What are your core values? Not what you think they should be, but what they actually are. Autonomy, family, creativity, service, adventure, connection, freedom, whatever. We do the core values exercise. It's free on my website, successWerk.𝐶𝐿. You can do it right there, right now, today. Question 2. How do these values show up in your life? Where are your values present? Where are they absent? When do you feel most alive? When do you feel most dead inside? Question 3. What parts of your life are aligned with your core values? What's working? What feels right? What gives you energy? Question 4. Which parts of your life are misaligned with your core values? What's not working? What's draining you? What's making you miserable? This is usually where the crisis is. Misalignment between your values and your work. For me, it was trauma surgery not aligning with autonomy, freedom, and family. For others, it will be different. But there is always a misalignment when there is a crisis. All right, question 5. What would your life look like to be fully aligned with your core values? Not what would your ideal medical career look like, but what would your ideal life look like? This is the vision. This is what we're working toward. And we figure out how to get there. What needs to change? What needs to be added? What needs to be removed? What steps can you take this week, this month, this year? That's the framework. And it works because it's based on your core values, not someone else's, not what you think they should be, but what you actually want and what your actual core values are. Here's the key question that determines everything. Is this a I could do this job if only situation, or I can't see myself doing this forever situation? Because that distinction matters. If you're in the I could do this job if only situation, if only I had better work-life balance, if only I had less administrative burden, if only I had more autonomy, if only I had better colleagues, if only the patient load was more manageable. This person can adjust their life and choices and continue working as a physician. They don't need to leave medicine. They just need to change something within medicine. A different practice setting, different employment structure, better boundaries, more support. This is fixable within the system. But if it's a I can't see myself doing this forever situation, well, this is fundamentally not right for me. This doesn't align with who I am. This isn't what I want to be doing. I need out. Well, this person needs to work on an escape strategy out of medicine, or at least out of clinical practice. They need to build something else. They need to pivot. They need a plan B. So the distinction matters because the solution is different. One person needs adjustment. The other person needs escape. Figure out which one you are. And now let me address the elephant in the room, the sunk cost fallacy. I've invested 20 years in this. I can't quit now. I've spent a decade becoming an expert. I can't start over. I've sacrificed too much to walk away. Here's what I tell people. Well, that's a choice, but is it realistic? I always tell my kids, complaining gets you nothing. If you cannot come up with a solution to the problem, then you have no reason to continue complaining about it. So, if you're unhappy with your life mid-career, then either come up with a solution or stop complaining. This goes back to the principles of extreme ownership. This is your life. You are in charge. You have the controls. If you want your life to look differently, the only way to achieve that is through action, doing things differently. What this looks like is different for everyone because everyone has different core values to base their life on and different ideas of what an ideal life might look like. But the principle is the same. Stop being a victim. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop waiting for things to magically get better. Take ownership, take action, change something. Or accept where you are and stop complaining. Those are your options. Here's what I've learned coaching mid-career physicians. The ones who succeed in creating a better life have an internal locus of control. The ones who stay stuck complaining have an external locus of control, even if they believe they don't. An external locus of control sounds like, the system is broken. The hospital won't let me reduce my hours. The patients are too demanding. The insurance companies make everything impossible. The administrative burden is killing me. I don't have enough time. There's nothing I can do. This is blaming everything and everyone else. This is being a victim. This is waiting for someone else to fix your problem. An internal locus of control sounds more like this. This is my clinic and I control the flow of patients. We need to schedule these patients differently. I'm not very efficient at writing these notes, which is killing my time. What can I do to become more efficient? What tools are available to help me? I need to set boundaries around my time. What conversations do I need to have? What limits do I need to establish? Or I can't control the system, but I can control how I respond to it. So what can I change? This is taking ownership. This is focusing only on what you can control. Control the controllables. This is adjusting those things to better fit your life. It definitely takes time and effort, and you have to be intentional about this. You have to start setting boundaries. It's not until people develop the habits of extreme ownership that the locus shifts. And when the locus shifts, everything changes. So here's a practical example. Instead of saying, there are too many patients in my clinic, I can't keep up, a person with an internal locus might say, I'm going to talk to my administrator about adjusting my schedule. I'm going to see fewer patients per day. I'm going to block time for documentation. I'm going to set up my clinic in a way that works for me. And then, when the time is freed up, set boundaries around it. Instead of seeing more patients or writing more notes, use the time for other pursuits. Going to the gym, working on a side hustle, spending time with family. That's internal locus of control. That's taking ownership. That's what separates the people who change their lives from the people who stay stuck. Let me be honest about what I see in my coaching practice. Most people stay stuck complaining. They come to me. They tell me they're miserable. They tell me they want to change, but they don't. They blame time for their problems. I don't have time to build a side hustle. I don't have time to retrain. I don't have time to even think about this. But when we really drill down into it, we can usually find at least a few hours each week to work with. Whether that's going to the gym or working on a side hustle or taking an online course, the time exists, but they won't use it because they don't actually believe that things can change. They do want things to be different, but they don't believe that they can be different. What about the ones who succeed? Well, they truly believe in a better life for themselves. They can see the forest for the trees. They can envision a different future, and they take action toward it. Even small action, even imperfect action, they do something. That's the difference. Belief and action versus doubt and inaction. If you're in a mid-career crisis right now, here's what to do. Step 1, do the core values exercise. It's free on my website, successWerk.𝐶𝐿. Figure out what actually matters to you. Step 2, assess alignment. Where is your life aligned with your core values? And where is it misaligned? And be brutally honest. Step 3, decide to adjust or escape. Again, is this a I could do this job if only situation, or I can't see myself doing this forever situation? Because that determines your path. Step 4, shift to an internal locus of control. Stop blaming external factors and start focusing on what you can control. What can you change? What boundaries can you set? What conversations do you need to have? Step 5, take one small action this week. Not a big dramatic change, just one small piece of action. Research alternative pathways. Have a conversation with your administrator about your schedule. Start a side project for 1 hour this week. Reach out to someone who has made a pivot. Join a course, read a book, something, anything. Just start. Step 6, build momentum. One small action leads to another. One conversation leads to another. 1 hour a week becomes 2 hours. Momentum builds. And suddenly, things that seemed impossible become possible. Finally, step 7, get support. You cannot do this alone. Get a coach, get a therapist, find a community of physicians making similar transitions. Get accountability, get encouragement, get perspective. But support matters. Here's what I want you to know. The mid-career crisis is real. It's common, and it's not your fault. The system is designed to burn you out. The system is designed to trap you with golden handcuffs. The system is designed to make you feel like you have no options. But you do have options. You can adjust within medicine. You can pivot to a different specialty or setting. You can build something outside of medicine. You can reduce your hours. You can leave entirely. You have options. But you have to take ownership. You have to stop being a victim. You have to shift from external to an internal locus of control. You have to believe that change is possible. And you have to take action. Small action, consistent action, imperfect action, but action nevertheless. Because nothing changes if nothing changes. You will stay stuck for the next 10, 20, 30 years, complaining about how miserable you are, waiting for things to magically get better. Or you can decide today that you're going to do something different. That's ownership. That's agency. That's taking control of your life. And that's the only way out of this mid-career crisis. I gave everything to trauma surgery and got nothing in return. I was looking for a light at the end of the tunnel that never came. Until I pivoted. Until I found wound care. And then everything changed. I got my life back, my time, my autonomy, my freedom, my ability to be present with my family. That pivot saved me. And it was completely accidental, but I was open to it. I was willing to try something different. I was willing to let go of the identity I had built as a trauma surgeon. And that openness changed everything. You can have that too. That freedom, that alignment, that life that actually works for you. But you have to take ownership. You have to take action. You have to believe it's possible, because it is. This is In Search of 42. I'm Dr. Felix Boecker, and you are not stuck. You just have to decide to move. If this episode resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment about your mid-career experience. Are you in crisis? What have you tried? What's holding you back? Check out the free core values exercise on my website, successWerk.𝐶𝐿. It's a great place to start figuring out what you actually want out of life. And let me know what you want me to cover next. And then I will see you in the next episode.